morning, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Hockey Talk with TG podcast. I'm Ty Glenn. Hope you guys are having a great Friday. Got lots of NHL news to break down for you guys today. So make sure that you stay tuned in to the end of this episode. Before we get started, just wanted to let you guys know to give me a follow on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and iHeartRadio. And also head on over to YouTube and subscribe to the TG Hockey channel. I am trying to build up my followers and all that other good stuff. So to those of you who are not subscribed to the YouTube channel or that are not following the Hockey Talk with TG podcast on like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, make sure to head on over there and follow and also subscribe to the TG Hockey channel. It really helps me out. Love talking hockey with you guys. So in return, really appreciate it if you would give me a follow. So that's just what I want to say before we get started. So yeah, but we have a lot of topics to talk about. So let's go ahead and get right into it. So are the New York Rangers a playoff team or not? I hear some people saying maybe this might be the Rangers' year of making the Stanley Cup playoffs. But then you got people like myself saying, oh, no, I don't think the Rangers will make the Stanley Cup playoffs this year. I don't think it's their year to make the playoffs and all the other stuff that they be saying. Like, I kind of agree with the people who said the Rangers aren't going to go to the Stanley Cup playoffs. But you got to think about this. The Rangers are 7-0-3 in their last 10 games. They're coming off of a 6-1 win over the Philadelphia Flyers. And at one point this season, they lost 16 of their last 21 games. But they, somehow, some way, started to turn their season around. They started to turn their season around. And to end 2024, they were 16-19-1. 16-19-1 to end 2024. They had 33 points at the time. So at that time, we weren't even thinking about the Rangers making the Stanley Cup playoffs, right? Am I right? So we weren't thinking about the Rangers making the Stanley Cup playoffs when they had 33 points and when they were doing like terrible. Now in 2025, they're 8-1-3, and they have 52 points. I think, 52 points this season, and they're 1 point out of a playoff spot. Like I said, they're coming off of a 6-1 win over the Philadelphia Flyers yesterday. And I think they also had a shutout win over the Senators the other night. So they won 2 in a row. So they're having a great start to 2025. So, and like I said, they're 1 point out of a playoff spot. And I'm telling you guys, in the Eastern Conference, it is tight. It is like jammed pack. Like, it's like any team can make the Stanley Cup playoffs at this point. But a key factor in this win was the defense. The Rangers defense, we talked about it. It was terrible. And it wasn't doing, that good. And so the Rangers made some changes to their blue line by trading their captain, Jacob Trouba, to Anaheim. And they were even starting to trade some more of their big players around that time when we thought they weren't going to be doing well, like Chris Kreider or Mika Zibanejad or Philip Cito or Ryan Lindgren and any other of the Rangers players that we talked about when the Rangers weren't doing that well or, got off to a bad start. And what I'm seeing for Igor Shesterkin, of course, Igor Shesterkin has had a first half. The first half didn't really go so well for Igor Shesterkin. Now he's playing like the Igor Shesterkin that we all know. And if you take a look at Igor Shesterkin's stats, he is 17-15-2 with a 2.72 goals against average and a .914 save percentage with 3 shutouts this season. And he's won 4 of his last 5 starts in the game. He's won 4 of his last 5 starts. So he's playing really well for the Rangers, but of course, midseason, like he had a terrible slump. And the Rangers offense has also stepped up. Like Artemi Panarin, he continues to lead the way. We got some more players from the Rangers offense stepping up. Of course, he's a defenseman, but some of the Rangers' top players in general are stepping up and contributing to the team, and that's why they're having the success that they're having. And like I said, in the Eastern Conference, it is tight. And the Rangers, taking a look at their next 5 games, at least all of these teams are in playoff spots, except for Boston, because I think Tampa and Columbus hold the wild card spots. But, of course, Boston is one of those teams who is trying to get into – well, actually, no. Wait, no. I think Boston is third in the Atlantic Division because they had a shutout win over the Senators yesterday. And so they jumped Tampa to finish third in the Atlantic Division. So all of these teams that the Rangers will be facing up against for the next 5 games are teams that are in playoff spots or that is trying to get into a playoff spot. So on Sunday, they faced the Colorado Avalanche. They continue their homestand against Colorado. Of course, Colorado is a wild card team in the Western Conference, so that's going to be tough. Team to face up against. And then Tuesday, they faced the Carolina Hurricanes. A good Metropolitan Division showdown right there. And then next Saturday, they head to Beantown to take on the Boston Bruins for an original 6 matchup. And then on Sunday, they're playing a back-to-backs. They head home to take on the VGK Vegas Golden Knights. And then next Wednesday, they take on the Boston Bruins again. So it's going to be a tough next 5 games for the New York Rangers, but they are playing some great hockey of late. So it wouldn't surprise me for them to at least get a few of these wins, at least, or maybe win all 5 of these matchups. So it wouldn't surprise me that way. But of course, if they were probably going to lose a matchup, it would probably be the Carolina, because Carolina is a great team, and between the Rangers and the Hurricanes are obviously the better team. So that's going to be a tough one against Carolina, but we'll see if the Rangers can at least get a few of these wins for these next 5 games as we head up to 2025 NHL 4 Nations Face-Off. And of course, the Rangers might even get some trades at the deadline in order to get into the playoffs. So the Rangers are like, okay, we want to be in playoff mode. We got to make some changes so we can get back into the Stanley Cup playoffs. They could try and get JT Miller again. I mean, we have seen the Rangers try to get JT Miller before, get him back on the Rangers, because of course JT Miller used to play for the Rangers before. I think he used to play for the Rangers before. Correct me if I'm wrong. So I wouldn't mind seeing the New York Rangers get JT Miller back, but if he doesn't want to play them, he can always come to Chicago. But we have seen them try to get JT Miller before. They also might make some trades to get other key players as well if they want to make a run to the Stanley Cup playoffs. So we'll just have to see come trade deadline in March. All right, another topic I want to discuss about. Has Levi Merilainen became the starting goaltender for the Ottawa Senators? Is he the number 1 starter for the Senators? Because take a look at Levi Merilainen's stats. We have seen some pretty good numbers for him, especially since Linus Ullmark has been out with an injury. Because, of course, when Linus Ullmark was brought into the Senators, we all knew he was going to get that number 1 starting role, considering his work that he's done with the Boston Bruins in the past. So we all knew he was going to get that starting role, but he hasn't played a game. His last game that he played was on December 22nd, 2024. He hasn't played since then, and Levi Merilainen has stepped up for the team. And so I'm thinking, even if Linus Ullmark comes back, Merilainen can still be the number 1 goalie. And take a look at the stats. I said he's put up really solid numbers. He's 6.31 with a 2.32 goals against average and a .914 save percentage. 2 shutouts this season. He's only 22 years old, so he's still got some time to grow, but he's putting up stats like very early. And in that game against Boston, we didn't see him get the start. Of course, it was Anton Forsberg who was the starting goalie in that game, but I think Merilainen started the other game when the Senators was shut out by the Rangers on Tuesday, I believe. I believe that was a Tuesday game when the Senators was shut out by the Rangers 5-0. Excuse me, hiccup right there. But other than that, despite that shutout loss on Tuesday for Merilainen, I think he's a really great goaltender to watch, and I believe he deserves to be the number 1 starting goalie for the Senators. And he's been really instrumental of late, keeping the Senators in it, keeping the Senators in a playoff spot since Linus Ullmark's absent. And taking a look at Linus Ullmark's stats before he went down with an injury, he's 12-7-2 with a 2.38 goals against average and a .915 save percentage. So his stats are really good stats too. Probably, I don't know if I would say they're better than Marilainen's, but his stats are good too. But I still think Marilainen deserves that number one starting role. And of course, I have heard some people talk about is Marilainen starting to become the number one goalie or not. So that's why I had to bring this up on my podcast. I think he deserves to be the number one starting goalie. Like I said, if he does be the backup goalie, it still wouldn't hurt him either way because, like I said, only 22 years old. He's got a lot of time to grow into an NHL veteran. But I believe he should be getting the start early. Like, starting him in most of the games early, especially if the Senators want to be a playoff team. Because Senators, they're right there. They are right there at the playoff spot. They're tied with the Rangers and Canadiens for 52 points, so they're right there. And I believe Marilainen will spark them to the Stanley Cup playoffs. I know the Senators, they have great offense, they have great defense, but Marilainen will make the team even better and make them getting a push to the Stanley Cup playoffs. And if the Senators do make the Stanley Cup playoffs, this will be the first time since 2017 the Senators have made the Stanley Cup playoffs, because we know when Erik Karlsson was on the team then, they went all the way to the conference finals to face the Penguins, and they lost to 7. Chris Kunitz with the overtime game-winning goal in that game. All right, speaking of Eastern Conference teams being the playoff team, still continuing on the playoff talk in the Eastern Conference, are the Columbus Blue Jackets a playoff team or not? So, of course, we did discuss this on my podcast before. If you've been listening to my podcast, I discussed this on here before, but I'll bring it up again because we've seen the Blue Jackets have some great success as well. I know they're coming off of a 7-4 loss to the Carolina Hurricanes yesterday, but despite that, they are 23-19-7 of the season with 53 points, and they're tied with Tampa for that first wild card spot in the Eastern Conference. They're 7-2-1 in their last 10 games, so they really turned the season around. In their first 15 games of the 2024-25 season, they were 5-8-2. 5-8-2 in their first 15 games of the season. To end 2024, they were 16-16-6. So they were right at 500 right there. Now in 2025, they seem to turn around to 7-3-1 of the season in 2025. And we have seen a lot from the offense. And I just want to give a shout out to Adam Fantilli. First NHL hat trick he recorded the other night against Toronto. That was a 5-1 win for the Blue Jackets. He had like 80 plus friends and family in attendance, of course. I'm guessing he grew up a Maple Leafs fan, according to what I heard on NHL Network, and scoring a hat trick against his hometown team. So I'm guessing he was a Maple Leafs fan growing up, according to the Daily Faceoff podcast I heard, and I heard it on NHL Network and stuff. So could be, but nonetheless, it's great to put on a performance in your hometown. And defensive challenges, of course. In that Hurricanes game yesterday, the Blue Jackets gave up 5 goals in that second period alone. So the defense is really going to have to tighten up if the Blue Jackets want to be a playoff team, which could see a possibility of them making the Stanley Cup playoffs. Don't get me wrong. We could see the Blue Jackets as a playoff team. I mean, they've shown me that they can be a playoff team. So I believe that they can make it into the Stanley Cup playoffs, but they just got to make an even bigger push in 2025, and this is what I saw on Money Puck. So according to Money Puck, the Blue Jackets have a 16.8% chance of making the playoffs. If you round that would be to a 17% chance of making the playoffs. And this kind of tells the competitive playoff race that's going on in the Eastern Conference. And of course, under coach Dean Everson, who of course you all know, he used to coach the Minnesota Wild before John Hines started coaching the Wild. The Blue Jackets have adopted to a team first mentality and enabling them to overcome their early season adversities and remain competitive in the playoff race. And as you take a look at these next few games for the Columbus Blue Jackets heading into the 2025 NHL Four Nations Face-Off event, I mean, it's not a tough. I wouldn't say it's a tough schedule for them, but there are going to be some playoff teams that they're going to be playing off against. But overall, I really wouldn't say this is a tough schedule. I believe that they can win at least some of these games I'm about to say. So tomorrow, they'll return home, take on the LA Kings. And then on Thursday, January 30th, they will start a 4-game road trip in Las Vegas, taking on the Vegas Golden Knights. And then on Friday, January 31st, they'll head to Utah, take on Utah Hockey Club. And then on Sunday, February 2nd, they'll head to the Big D to take on the Dallas Stars. And then on Tuesday, February 4th, they will wrap up their 4-game road trip against the Buffalo Sabres. Should be an easy win right there because, like most people, and like pretty much all people, we won't see the Sabres in the Stanley Cup playoffs. So, yeah. And then after they wrap up their 4-game road trip in Buffalo, they head back home on Thursday, February the 6th to take on Utah Hockey Club. So they will be taking on Utah Hockey Club twice during these next few games. And then on Saturday, February 8th, they will take on the New York Rangers, who, of course, are fighting for a playoff spot. Could it be possible for the Blue Jackets to put up at least some of these wins and go on a winning streak like they did before? Yes. Will it be a tough schedule? Yes, because they're playing against teams like the Golden Knights and Stars, who, of course, are great, high-power offensive teams right there. So it's going to be a tough schedule. And then they're playing LA. I think they should get a win over the LA Kings. I think I see a win right there. Could be possible. Of course, we have seen the Blue Jackets got some wins against playoff teams before this season. So could happen again. So, yeah. But it's going to be a tough schedule nonetheless. But we'll just have to see. All right. So yesterday, or at least on Wednesday, I was going to do a 2-minute short video on the Predators and Sharks game from Tuesday, January the 21st, because that was a great game right there. And they had another great game yesterday in the Shark Tank where the Predators won 6-5 against the Sharks. And, of course, the Sharks are still winless against the Predators. But let's go back to that game on January 21st. So the Predators, they were down 5-1 in that game at Bridgestone Arena. They came back. They scored 6 unanswered goals, and they won that game 7-5, which, of course, was the first time in franchise history that Nashville has erased a 4-goal deficit and came back to win that game. And came back to win a game, I should say, in general. Excuse me if I'm getting my words mixed up. So they scored 6 unanswered goals, winning 7-5 against the Sharks. And I started watching this game at the start of the first period. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Because, of course, I do. Like, the Predators are my second favorite NHL team. Nashville's my second favorite NHL team. Of course, the first one, of course, is Chicago Blackhawks. Because I cover the team. I'm a fan of the team. I grew up watching the team. So, of course, I'm a Blackhawks. Been a Blackhawks fan since day one. But the Predators, I do like the Predators as well. Second favorite NHL team right there. And when I was watching this game, in the first period, I'm like, Macklin Celebrini scores. And then you got all these other Sharks players score, according to former Predators, Luke Cunnin and Mikhail Granlund. I'm like, this game is pretty much over. Like, I said that after the first period, which, of course, the Sharks had a 4-1 lead at the end of the first period. They added on to their goal total, making it 5-1 last time I checked. And so I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Like, and, of course, Eustace Sauls got taken out of net, replaced by Eustace Anwin in that game. And then I come back, I check on in the third period to see how the game is, and I see that the Predators made it 5-3. They made it at least 5-4, because I think at the end of the second it was like 5-3. I think it was 5-3 at the end of the second, and then it was like 5-4 when I checked back, and then when I checked back again a few minutes later, it's now like 5-5. So the Predators have come all the way back, and then I continued watching that game, and it was like 6-5 and then 7-5 Philip Forsberg with the empty netter. And so that was a great game. Like, that was a unreal game in Smashville. And I'm like, what did I just see? Even though I didn't like really watch the entire game, I was kind of like shocked at what I saw, because I watched part of this game. Like after the Sharks had like a 5-1 lead, I started turning it off, and then I checked back in the third period, watched the third period. I'm like, this is unreal. This is unreal, and I expected the same momentum to head into Thursday's game in the Shark Tank, which the Predators, same start that the Sharks got off to when the Sharks went in their home one. They had a 3-0 lead, and then I think the Sharks cut it to 3-1. And then eventually the 3-2. And then the Predators got the 3-goal lead back. And then the Sharks come all the way back to tie it at 5. And then Fedor Svechnikov makes it 6-5. So these two games were, kind of identical. At least from my point of view, they were kind of identical. So, and these were like big games. Possibly could have been the top 10 games of the season so far between the Predators and the Sharks. And of course, the Predators sweep the back-to-back wins against the Sharks in that one. So these could have been like the top 10 games of the season. Correct me if I'm wrong, because we have seen some great games this season so far. But these two games between the Predators and Sharks have got to be in the top 10. And of course, Justus Anwin was perfect in both of those games. He made 30 saves in the 6-5 win over the Sharks yesterday. And then on January 21st in that Tuesday game in Smashville, he came in relief for UC Sauls. He made 15 saves on 16 shots faced in net. And I was like, wow. And of course, these two teams meet again, I believe, either in March or April in Nashville or San Jose. I don't know which one, but I think they play each other 3 times this season. And they will probably meet either in Nashville or San Jose. Not really sure which one. But my thoughts on the game, I really like the games. I really did like the games. And, of course, I'm sorry to all the Predators fans who are having blackout restrictions in Tennessee. And it's not only Predators fans, like every hockey fan that wants to watch their favorite team. It's the blackout restrictions that prevent that. It's the same thing with NBA and MLB. I don't know why the blackout restrictions are there. But, of course, sometimes when I'm trying to watch Blackhawks games, I do have the blackout restriction as well. So, of course, we have Chicago Sports Network in Chicago now. And I'm not able to watch at least some Blackhawks games. So, I know how the feeling is. It's the same thing when I try to watch the Bulls or White Sox play or possibly the Cubs. And blackout restrictions on there. So, it's kind of annoying. But anyway, my thoughts on the game between the Predators and the Sharks. I really did like the game. Obviously, it was an intense game. The game got chippy. So, right after the Predators made it 3-0, I think they were 2-3 fights after the Predators made it 3-0 in that game against San Jose. So, it was chippy. It was intense. It was an unreal game to watch. So, that's just my thoughts on it. Let me know you guys' thoughts on it. If you're a Predators fan or a Sharks fan, I would like to hear your thoughts. But obviously, it almost was high-scoring games. And in those games alone, adding up both of those games, because of course the Predators had a 7-5 win over the Sharks, so that's 12 goals scored. So that's 12 goals scored in that game, and then a 6-5 win over the Sharks last night, so 11 goals scored in that game. So 23 total goals scored in just 2 days, because these two teams after Tuesday they played each other Thursday, obviously. So it's 23 goals scored in just these 2 days that these meet. So it was high-scoring games in those ones. So I can't wait to see it again in the next game that they play, because it was obviously unreal. And I thought Yaroslav was scared off getting the start against his former team. I felt like that was great to see. I wish he could have gotten the start in Tuesday's game against Nashville. That would have been even better, because even though he didn't really play for the Predators, he played for the Predators AHL team, I think. And he didn't get called up by Nashville, I don't recall. But it is nice playing against your former team, at least the team that you were drafted by. So I really did like that game between the Predators and Sharks. And, of course, the one from Thursday, certainly a unreal game in both of those games right there. All right, so now I'm going to discuss will the Washington Capitals take home the President's Trophy. So, of course, the Washington Capitals sit at top of the NHL with 71 points. The Jets are right behind them with 67, so they have a 4-point cushion right there. Capitals have won 6 in a row. They're 8-0-2 in their last 10 games. And they're coming off a 3-0 shutout win over the Kraken. And, of course, Alex Ovechkin got goal number 875 in that game, making him 20 goals away from passing Wayne Gretzky on the NHL's all-time goal list. We're looking at somewhere in March where he'll break the record. I'm hoping it's somewhere in March or probably in April when the season ends. We could see him break the record. So I'm looking in March or April for him to break that goal scoring record. Of course, most of his goals, well, recently, I'll probably say recently, like his last 5-10 games maybe. Some of them have been empty netters. Other of them have been just normal goals. You guys know what I mean. So hopefully we get to see Alex Ovechkin score at least more of these goals. Like hopefully he has 2-goal games or maybe gets a hat trick in one of these games. I know he's not prime Ovi, but I would like to see him go back into prime Ovi and light up the scoreboard every single night right there. And taking a look at oddscheckers.com, the Capitals have a plus 140 odds to win the President's Trophy. So it could happen. I don't know. But, of course, we got some competitive teams right behind them trying to take home that President's Trophy. And the Capitals have a plus 54 goal differential. And taking a look at their next 5 games, they continue their Canadian road trip in Vancouver against the Canucks Saturday. Then on Tuesday, they head to Calgary, take on the Flames. And on Thursday, January 30th, they wrap up their road trip in Ottawa, taking on the Senators. And then on Saturday, February the 1st, they're at home taking on the Winnipeg Jets. And then on Tuesday, February 4th, they take on the defending Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers. And then on Thursday, February 6th, they head to the city of brotherly love to take on the Flyers. And then on Sunday, February 9th, they take on Utah Hockey Club. So all these games leading up to the 2025 NHL Four Nations. Hope to see Ovi at least score at least 2 or get a hat trick in some of these games. Would love to see him go back into prime Ovi right there. But we'll see if it happens in March or April for him to break the goal record. But as of my thoughts, if the Capitals will win the President's Trophy, look, I rank this team finishing last in the Metropolitan Division at the start of the season. Believe it or not, I did have the Capitals finishing last at the start of the season. They proved me wrong by having this great start to the season already. So do I think it's possible for them to win the President's Trophy? Heck yeah. I mean, they could win the President's Trophy. I believe it's possible since they're having the start that they have. They won 6 in a row. The players are stepping up, and they're having good goaltending between Logan Thompson and Charlie Lindgren. Yes, the Capitals will win the President's Trophy. But let me know you guys' thoughts on it. I think the Capitals will win the President's Trophy. I don't think the Jets or the Golden Knights or any other team that's right behind them that could be in favor of winning the President's Trophy. I don't think that's going to happen. I think the Capitals got this one in the bag, so they're taking home the President's Trophy right there. But as always, I would like to hear from you guys. Share you guys' thoughts. Whether you agree or disagree with what I said, I would like to hear them. All right, NHL games on the slate for today. So we got the Philadelphia Flyers taking on the New York Islanders at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. Flyers, of course, are playing a back-to-back set. They're coming off of a 6-1 loss to the Rangers on Thursday. Second of 4 meetings this season. The Flyers won the first meet back on January 16th on Long Island with a 5-3 win. They will meet again on January 30th and on April 12th. Both of those games will be in the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And then we got the VGK, Vegas Golden Knights, taking on the Dallas Stars at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. This game will air on ESPN. Second of 3 meetings this season. The Golden Knights won the first meet back at home at T-Mobile Arena on December 6th by a final score of 3-2. They will play each other 4 days later on January 28th for their final meeting of the season in Las Vegas. And then we got the Tampa Bay Lightning taking on the Chicago Blackhawks at 7 o'clock p.m. Central Time. 2015 Stanley Cup final rematch between these two teams. And, of course, Tampa has had our number after the 2015 Stanley Cup Final. And I'm not going to lie, as a Blackhawks fan, I am really nervous about this game because of the reason I just said. Tampa, they're coming off a back-to-back road losses against Toronto and Montreal. So, believe it or not, they're going to step back and possibly win this game against Chicago. So, I am kind of nervous in this game. But the Blackhawks have beaten playoff teams before, surprisingly. So, could see the Blackhawks win, but I don't think it's going to happen against Tampa. Not against Tampa. It's not 2015 anymore, unfortunately. And of course, when the Blackhawks won the Stanley Cup in 2015, I was like really excited then, and I was kind of shocked because of how stacked Tampa's team was then when they had Steven Stamkos, Nikita Kucherov, Alex Killorn. Who else? They had a stacked team. They had Ben Bishop in goal then, and there's a few more other players I'm trying to name. Anthony Cirelli, I think he was on that team then, and a few more other players on that Tampa Bay Lightning team. So they had a stacked team then. They still have a stacked team now. So I'm kind of nervous of how this game will turn out, but I just wish I can go back to 2015 and see the Blackhawks win their 6th Stanley Cup against the Tampa Bay Lightning at the United Center at home. Because I was like really excited and screaming when this happened. But anyway, let's get down to business. First of 2 meetings this season between the two teams. They will play each other 4 days later in Tampa on January 28th. So they'll be getting really familiar with each other. And then the final game of the night, Utah Hockey Club take on the Winnipeg Jets at 7 o'clock p.m. Central Time. 34 meetings this season between the two teams. The home teams have won both of these meets. Winnipeg shut out Utah 3-0 at home on November 5th. And then most recently, Utah Hockey Club had a 5-2 win over the Jets. And they will meet again in Utah on April the 5th. All right, guys. So that is going to do it for this episode of Hockey Talk with TG Podcast. Thank you guys for tuning in as always. Really do appreciate it. Like I said, make sure to give me a follow on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and iHeartRadio. And head on over to YouTube to subscribe to the channel. Hopefully you guys have a great rest of your day. God first as always. Be blessed. I'll see you guys Monday for another episode of the Hockey Talk with TG Podcast. Take care.